So today we're reviewing for your test over 13.1 through 13.5. This is your last test before your final exam. In the first section of your test, you're going to be finding probability and calculating that probability based on the different possibilities. Okay, so it says a bag contains 8 purple, 6 blue, and 4 yellow marbles. Find the probability that you will randomly choose a purple marble, blue marble, and not a yellow marble. All right, so how many purple out of the total?
8.
Okay, so, let me find it. All right, so it was supposed to be 8 out of how many?
18.
Yes, very good. It was 8 out of 18, and then that reduces to 4 out of 9. What about blue? Reduced. 1/3. What about not yellow? 7/9. Now, guys, that's your answer. Okay, these are your answers. Now, some of you chose to write it as a percentage, which is fine, except you rounded your percentages wrong. Okay, so if you want to write your answer as a percentage, that's fine, but it needs to be rounded correctly. For example, 1/3 is 33%, not 30%. 4/9 is 44%, and 7/9 is 78%. If I don't round correctly, then my answer is actually wrong. Okay, so if you take it that next step, then just remember that. Remember, what's highlighted is not necessary. Your answer can be left a fraction, all right, on these. Now, next I want to talk about the counting principle. Yesterday, a lot of people got confused between the counting principle and combinations. I think possibly because there's the word combinations here. So you automatically think, oh, I'm finding a combination. But remember, with combinations, you're selecting a certain number out of a total. That's not what's happening here. What's happening here is I have 2 categories, and I'm calculating the total number of possibilities that I have. That's the counting principle. So what would I label one of my categories in this example? Lydia's family is planning a vacation. They can either rent a van, car, SUV, or RV. How can I label that category? Vehicles. Yeah. Vehicles. And then I have choices of vehicles. Then it says they have choice of several destinations, including Orlando, Miami, Hawaii, New York City, and London. So what can I label my second category? Destinations. So here I have 2 categories, and I have different options within the categories. How many options for vehicles? How many options for vehicles? 4. How many options for destinations? 20 combinations. That's all you have to do. Okay? So, guys, this is the difference. Categories and options within the categories, I use the counting principle to calculate. Now, if I'm selecting a certain number from a total, that's going to be a combination or a permutation. All right, so now let's look at some other scenarios and calculate the total number of possibilities there. All right, so here I have ways to arrange the word people, ways to choose 4 different books from 15 books, and ways to program a 4-digit combination on a keypad. So you figure out what the total number of ways would be. 1 is a factorial, 1 is a permutation, 1's a combination. You have to figure out which one is which. All right, so arranging the word people. Am I only selecting a few letters out of the word people? Out of the total? No. I'm taking how many letters in that word? 6 letters and rearranging it. So for the first letter, I have 6 choices for that letter. But once I select a letter, how many choices are left for the second letter? 5. And then for the third letter? 4, 3, 2, and 1. And when I multiply all those numbers together, I get 720. This is also known as a factorial. A factorial can be expressed with an exclamation point, which I see on my calculator to the right of the circular dial on the X to the -1 button. If you hit Shift, that is your factorial button. You can just enter 6, factorial button, hit equals, and it will give you the answer. 720 ways to rearrange the word people. Now, look at the second one. What do you think? Combination or permutation? Look at the second one now, guys. Combination or permutation? Combination. Order does not matter. So it's a C. What number goes before the C? 15, my total. And then what number goes after the C? 4. How many are being selected? And I get 1,365 combinations or groups. How many digits are on a keypad? Digits. 10. 1 through 9, and then the 0. So you have 10 digits on a keypad. You're going to need to know that. It is now a permutation because order will matter to get the correct combination. And you're selecting 4 of those digits to be a part of your code. So 10P4 equals 5,040 possible combinations. All right, now you're going to see a scenario of disjoint and overlapping events. You have to tell me the probability that A or B will occur. Not both, but one or the other. So is it disjoint or overlapping, and calculate the probability. Your answer can be a fraction or a percentage, either one. All right, so probability of A or B. The first thing I look for is, what is the probability that I spin an even number? How many even numbers are on the spinner? 4. So 4 out of 8. What's the probability that I spin a number more than 7? 6 numbers on the spinner are more than 7, but are there any numbers that are both even and more than 7? Yes, how many? 3. So I have to subtract that number from my total to now get 7/8 or 88%. So based on the information that I found, are these events disjoint or overlapping? They're overlapping because there are some shared outcomes between the two events. All right, now look at events A and B below. How many multiples of 3 are on the spinner?
3.
And how many multiples of 5? 4. Are there any numbers that are both multiples of 3 and 5?
No.
There are no numbers on the spinner that are both, so I add them together, and these are disjoint events. These are disjoint events. Okay, 7/8 and 88%. Okay, so now let's calculate disjoint events. So I'm going to tell you that it's disjoint, and you're going to calculate it. Here's the problem that we ran into yesterday on the quiz. You don't know the difference between disjoint and complementary events when it's written this way. I didn't say they're complementary, you know, when the chance of rain and the chance of it not raining, that's not this. Disjoint events, in order to calculate the probability of A or B, what do we have to do to those numbers? We add them together. Many people yesterday tried to subtract this from 1, but that's not what we're doing here, okay? So we'll talk more about that in a minute, but go ahead and calculate these disjoint events. Okay, so what do I do here? And this is how you write it. If you don't write it this way in your test tomorrow, you're going to lose 2 points. Probability of A or B equals 0.3 plus 0.12. Add them together. Show that that's what you did, and then you come up with your answer. Same thing goes with the percentage. Add them together and show your answer. If all you do is show an answer, I'm going to take off half credit. Okay? Show me what you're adding, and show me the probability of A or B, that you understand that's what you're finding. The last thing we need to cover is now the complementary events. This is something that I think that, you know, we kind of look for because we know that this is going to be easy. However, you do need to show your work. So I'm asking you to find the probability of not A. So again, this goes back to our rain example. If I tell you there's a 40% chance of rain, what chance is there that it will not rain? 60. So if I tell you the probability of A is 0.65, you say probability of not A equals, and then show me the work, and then show me the answer. So go ahead and find your complementary events for each one of these scenarios. So here's the work that I'm looking for. Probability of not A equals, what do you subtract 0.65 from?
100.
No, 1.
Oh.
So you know that, but you don't want to write it. That's the problem. You need to write it out. 1 minus 0.65 equals 0.35. You say, well, got the answer, why do I have to show the work? Because that's part of solving. Okay? What are you subtracting 3/5 from? 5 over 5. Show that. Answer's 2/5. What do you subtract 22% from? 100. 78%. So we got the answers right, and I say that's not all of it. You still have to show me what you're subtracting. This step right here on your test must be there. That's worth 2 points. All right, does everybody understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, test tomorrow. Last test before finals. That's everything you need to know.